speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody. Welcome inside a Wednesday episode of Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town. Anthony Hartwig with you as we dive in to the middle of the week. We have a good show for you today. We're going to continue some basketball previews because we have Matt Reel, the head coach of the Canfield girls coach, coming on live at 1:15 today. And then it is the return of Scotty Mencher as he is back in the studio. We'll bring him on at 1:30 and talk about a lot of stuff with Scotty, as I'm sure he has a lot to talk about. Football playoffs coming up on Friday. We've been talking about it in the studio for the last couple hours. So we have a lot to talk about with Scotty, and we have Matt Reel coming on at 1:15 as well today. It's going to be a fun show. Don't miss any of it. But first, we have to talk about the soccer finals from last night. We have regional finalists in girls soccer. And as we said yesterday, we were guaranteed to have two because we had both regional semifinals with YSN matchups. And we'll start with the most exciting one, the thriller that happened in Boardman between Canfield and West Branch, as the Cardinals repeat history as they get a win over West Branch in penalty kicks. And it's the harsh reality for West Branch that this is the exact same way that they lost last season out of the tournament, as they lost to Canfield in penalty kicks last year as well in tournament play. Last year, though, there was not as much on the line. It was just the sectional championship that Canfield beat out West Branch. But then you look at the tournament history in this game. Canfield and West Branch have met each other in 3 of the last 4 tournaments, and Canfield has won 3 of the last 4. They also beat West Branch in 2019 out of the district championship. They beat them 2-0 in that game. And last year, like I said, they beat them in penalty kicks out of the sectional final. And now here they are in the regional semifinals, more on the line than ever before. And it definitely lived up to the hype. Canfield once again, though, won the match in penalty kicks to knock out West Branch. It was tied at 1 after the end of regulation. And in soccer, they play 2 overtimes. If you're tied, that didn't settle the issue either. Canfield beat West Branch 6-5 in the penalty kicks round to win the thriller. They are now 7-2-1 on the season. Canfield had their lone goal scored by their superstar, Macy Taporser. She knocked it in to tie the game in the second half. West Branch scored first as Daphne Snyder put one in early in the first half to put the Warriors on top early, and then Taporser scored before halftime to tie the game up. So it was tied the entire second half. No one scored from the, I think, 14-minute mark of the first half. So these defenses really locked down on each other. But really, it was West Branch's goalkeeper that kept him in the game, because Canfield, they outshot West Branch 24-14. They put a lot of pressure on that West Branch defense, but the Warriors were able to hold. And then you look at Canfield's goalkeeper, Lolo Paget. She had 9 saves in the net as well, so she had a lot of work to do. But both these defenses held strong, and like I said, Canfield came out on top 6-5 in the penalty kicks round. Canfield will move on to play in the regional championship on Saturday, and they have a very familiar opponent if you're a soccer fan. They seem to be popping up everywhere when you talk about soccer. They will play Bay Village Bay at 11 o'clock at Twinsburg High School on Saturday. West Branch finishes the season just one loss on the year, and they also hold up their program's first district championship. So we knew this was going to be a big matchup between West Branch and Canfield, and we saw the way it went earlier this season. I think Canfield was a little bit put off by that. They knew they didn't play their best game. West Branch beat them pretty handedly back towards the beginning of the year. And Canfield that showed their growth, especially as a defense. They were able to hold West Branch to just one goal this time around, and I think West Branch scored 4 on them the first time around in that 4-1 victory earlier in the season to help them kind of get that Canfield monkey off their back for a minute. But I talked about it yesterday. It's like, yeah, we got our first win over Canfield in quite some time. But then the way it works out, you kind of knew you would probably eventually have to go through them in the tournament. And they did. They could not beat Canfield the second time. But, man, these teams are so close. I mean, they're so well matched. They're so close to each other. It's hard to say that one of them has to lose and say goodbye to the season because they both played their hearts out last night. You look at West Branch; they fought all night. They were outshot 24-14, but their defense kept them in it. Their goalkeeper did a really good job with a bunch of saves behind the net. I mean, you'll look at West Branch; they had one of the probably you could argue the best season the program has ever had. Now that's saying something because you look at West Branch's pedigree in girls soccer. They are always near the top of the area's rankings when you look at it because, they have what I think this was their 10th straight EBC championship. They shared it this year with Salem, but still they got a piece of it. So 10 straight EBC championships, that tells you something about this team, that they have a lot riding for them. And Cheryl Fico does a really good job with the Warriors. Once again, their program's first ever district championship. That Division II district is always tough, and they haven't been able to crack it, even with all their regular season success. They finally cracked it this year, but then they fell a little bit short against a really good Canfield team. It's games like that where you just go, at the end of the day, yeah, one team won, one team lost, but both teams were definitely deserving of being there. And if they were in another bracket or another region, you might see both teams end up being in the regional final. It's just one of those things. We saw it in volleyball too, with 4 state-ranked teams in one district. All 4 of those teams probably could have won some other districts in the state, but they were lined up with each other, and that's how it works out. So Canfield moves on. They will play Bay Village Bay on Saturday at 11. That game will go on in Twinsburg High School. The next score for soccer last night came in Division III, and it was Poland getting the win over Lakeview 4-0, and this is Poland's third win over Lakeview. I wanted to say the Bulldogs, but they're both Bulldogs. So third win over Lakeview this season. They beat them 4-0, and man, Lakeview has not scored against Poland in the last 2 years, and now it's a combined 22-0 in the last 5 matchups with Poland, and they continue their dominance. 4-0 last night. And remember when I said yesterday about this Poland team and why I thought they might have a little bit of an advantage going in, because you look at their stats and you look at the goals they put up. They're so spread out. Ariana Daniels leads them with 26, which was a program record for goals in a season. So she definitely put up a really strong year, and she's one of the stars. But then you look at it, they have 3 other girls with digit goals, and then they have 6 or 7 with at least 2 or 3. So they have so many players that can come up and find ways to beat you. And that was the story last night of their offense, because once again, Lakeview held the top scorers of Poland pretty much in check. Because, Ariana Daniels did not have a goal, and neither did Ava Blinsky. And those are their top 2 scorers. But it was Ariel Grishow and Kaylin Asion that scored 3 goals. And then the freshman standout for Poland, Elena Thompson, scored a goal as well to give them their 4th. But, Grishow and Asion, they combined for 7 goals all season. And they came out and they just found ways to score. This is what makes this Poland team so good, because they have so many people that can go up and score goals. You can't just shut down one person. You can't shut down two people. They have so many ways to beat you. They proved it last night with 4 goals from 3 different people, 2 of them coming from Grishow, and then of course Asian had one, and then Thompson had one as well for the Bulldogs. Poland, like I said, they just have so many ways to beat you. Ariana Daniels has not scored a goal against Lakeview all season. Like, let that sink in. Their leading scorer has not scored a goal against Lakeview. Lakeview's done a really good job of trying to hold them down and hold her specifically down, but they just have way too much outside of her to help them scoring, and that's what the difference was last night. Like I said, 3 different players scored 4 goals for Poland. They will advance into the regional finals. They will be paired with Akron Manchester. That game is scheduled to be played at Howland High School on Saturday. 1 o'clock is the kickoff time for that regional final. So we have 2 YSN teams in the regional finals, one in Division 2, one in Division 3. And that's going to be a fun time on Saturday to see if we can get one or both of them into the state bracket. But before we talk more about soccer and the boys games that are happening tonight, we have a lot of boys teams still in action. We have to get into a basketball preview. It is that time of year. We are just 2 weeks away from the start of the girls basketball season, about 3 weeks away from the start of the boys basketball season. And we have head coach of the girls team in Canfield, Matt Reel, my buddy, coming on the show live. Matt, Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's great to be on again.
Yeah, we missed you. We missed you all year, and you get to come back on. And I guess the first question with all these basketball previews is kind of a reflection and a recap of last year, some of the things that you saw when you watched the film in the offseason from last year, especially the returning players and things that you can grow on that this team did so well last year.
Well, we had a start to the year last year where we lost some close games to some really good teams, and we were kind of finding ourselves a little bit. We had returned 5 seniors, and those 5 seniors really did a nice job leading us. We ended up having a share of the AAC, lost to a good Howland team in the sectional final, which was a really good game where we didn't shoot the ball well, but we're excited for this year. And just reviewing last year, we always take a look at a few things we want to do better and try to do those a little bit better, and just excited to see what this year brings.
All right, obviously, it was a great senior class last year that you guys graduated, but you're bringing in some more senior leaders this year that have kind of learned how to lead in other sports as well. Let's go over your roster, who you think the main returners are, and then obviously some new faces that Canfield fans should be expecting to really show up and shine bright this season for the Cardinals.
Sure. Probably have to start with Abby Muckleroy. She's been a starter for us since midway through her sophomore year. She ended up finishing 5th in the state in 3-point shooting last year as our leading returning scorer. Another senior, Kate Solly, was really kind of behind Alyssa Dill last year. Kate's lefty, really can shoot the ball, is a good creator, has been playing really well for us here in the early going. Carly Harmon's another senior who is waiting in the wings behind some good players. She's going to be one of our better shooters. Our 4th senior, Emmy Rubin, hurt her ACL in May, so we're hoping that we can get her back in January at some point. Our junior class is a nice class. Cameron Dill is another letter winner. She's probably going to be our point guard this year. Has really taken a step forward in the offseason. Alyssa's younger sister also. Other people looking for time that have kind of new to us in terms of a varsity realm would be Macy Kalina, Macy Kalina, Grace McQuiston, Cami Ritz. All people have seen some varsity action in the past, but are looking for more. Marina Koenig is a sophomore bidding for some time. And, Jenna Treveri and Carly Fleming, 2 new faces for us. They're also probably going to be in the mix a little bit.
All right, so when you talk about, I want to highlight some of these players that we know from returning. First, I want to start with Abby Muckleroy because, like you said, 5th in the state last year, 3-point shooting. But now she's kind of elevated into like a senior leader this year. And she kind of got that experience in volleyball. And how much do you think that's going to help her just having the sport right before basketball where she was thrust in that leadership role and she was able to execute that and then bring it right into basketball?
Well, I think, it's great when they have opportunities in different situations to become leaders. And, one of the reasons I really like them playing other sports is they get those opportunities that sometimes they might not have had in the past, maybe in our sport. Abby's one of our harder workers. She'll be in the gym. She was in our gym before our first practice yesterday. She came back. I think she was at the gym at 5:30 shooting. So we're really excited to see what she's going to do. And I think the first thing about being a leader is you have to be willing to be one. And she and other players we have on that team are willing to do that. But for a lot of our young ladies, it's stepping out of their comfort zone a little bit and understanding that sometimes leaders aren't going to be liked at all times, and getting past that sometimes tough for our girls. So I think having her get a chance in volleyball to do that, I think is really going to help us out.
As soon as you said Cameron Dill, all of the opponents just went to deal with another one. What kind of things make her different than Alyssa, and what kind of things should fans expect from her? Obviously not a carbon copy. Does some different things than her sister did.
Alyssa was a little bit probably better scorer. She's just a natural scorer. Alyssa can score a lot of different ways. Cammie's probably a little bit better athlete in terms of quicker. She's really done a really good job of really attacking the basket. When she gets in there, she's very long. So she does have the Dill quality with that. She's long in there, and she has an array of moves that she can go score in a post. Has really improved on her weak hand dribbling, creating, and she's put in a lot of time shooting. I know right after the season got done, she was in that middle school gym shooting a ton. And I really think she's going to be one of our more improved players.
All right, as we talk about this season, we have to bring up the schedule. Obviously, the AAC going to look a little different this year. A lot of teams lost a lot of players. Where do you see the AAC shaking out, and what are some who are some teams that you think are really going to shine bright in this AAC?
Well, I think you always start with Howland. That's who we share the league with, and I think that we're almost carbon copies of each other in terms of I think they lost 4 or 5 seniors. We lost 4 or 5 seniors. They all played a lot, and I think they have some young players that are pretty good, chomping at the bit. So you always got to start with them. I know Frank over at Harding. I know he's got a nice freshman class. I think they'll be a little bit younger. Fitch, with a new coach, they're always very competitive. Bigger school. They have some returning veterans. So, we really want to get a look at them because every coach does things a little bit differently. And then with Coach Hamilton back at Boardman, I know one thing. Every time we go over to Boardman, they just play usually their best game of the year. So I know they'll have them ready to go playing hard, and they do a nice job coaching them. So, I think it's a little bit wide open more than it's been so in past years. We just hope to be one of those teams fighting for the title.
What about non-conference? Who are some teams that pop up in your non-conference schedule that you're really excited to test yourselves with?
Well, all the area teams I think that are good we have on the schedule. I mean, we start off with West Branch. Our second game's at Marlington. 2 really good squads. We have Stowe coming in here as usual. Mooney Ursuline, Liberty, Salem, Poland twice, Louisville. We go up to play another team that's pretty good in a Burton tournament, Struthers. So, with only 8 league games, we have 14 games to fill, and we try to, balance out some of the competitive games. We try to get as many competitive games on our schedule. Our girls like that. We like it because we get tested, even though we lose some that, maybe our record's not as good at the end of the year. We think it really helps us be ready to get in a tournament.
All right, that tournament is a long way away. Season hasn't started yet, but one thing you have to talk about with Canfield is you guys are in Division II now. You were the smallest team in the state in Division I. Always had a tough time in that district. Now you're dropping down to Division II. Do you think that helps your girls a little bit more to have a little bit more wiggle room in the district? And obviously D2 is just as tough, but maybe it's just a little bit more comparable to your schedule, you think?
I think so. I think we're in comparable schools with our enrollment. We're in Division I, being the smallest school. We very rarely faced a team that was within 100 girls of enrollment. It was usually double or triple our size. And, everybody says, well, there's only 5 girls you can play. But where you really see it is depth. They're 6th, 7th, and 8th, or maybe a little bit stronger, a little bit taller, a little bit faster than yours. I think the biggest thing with Division I is sometimes in the lower divisions, you're going to have maybe an easier opponent in the first and second rounds. Whereas in Division I, your opponent, I think we had 18 out of the 37 teams, and ours had winning records. And that's including Canton McKinley, who was 5-16 with a very good squad. So I think trying to win 4 games there against really, really quality opponents in Division I was kind of a really tough thing for us. And I think sometimes you get in the lower divisions, maybe you have good opponents, but not those just one heater after another 4 times in a row to get out of the district.
Summers are so important for basketball teams. What kind of things did you guys do this summer, and how do you think it went from your perspective this summer of Canfield basketball?
We always go up to a summer league up in Stowe, and the reason we do that is because they bring in a lot of really good teams. So we did really well there. Excuse me. Had a good showing. Our girls were really committed. We went down to Barberton for a 2-day shootout there, and we played 6 of the best teams, I think, in Ohio. And we took some on the chin, but I think we learned a lot. And then we always end our off season down at Eastern Ohio with Huggins. And we always have a good camp there, and our girls have improved a ton. So I'm very pleased with how the summer went. They put in a lot of time, and they put in a lot of quality time rather than just being in the gym. They got things done while they're in it. So, we're really looking forward to seeing if that pays off this season.
Obviously, you learn a lot of X's and O's about your team in those weekends and those tournaments, but also great time for bonding and chemistry building. How much do you think you're going to lean on that summer and those things that you do in building chemistry throughout the season?
Well, I think summertime's a little bit tough for chemistry because other teams always have people missing. You always have people missing, and there's vacations and all things that you need to do. Kids playing other sports. We've really put an emphasis here in the preseason of getting to know each other. We have new faces in new roles. We have some freshmen that are getting to know the seniors. I think it's so important with your team because when those tough times come, I think it's a lot easier to stick together when you have something in common with the person. So, I think summertime is good for that, but we're really, really focusing it here in the preseason.
All right. When you think about the first couple of weeks of practice and things that you want to install before, you hit the first game, which it can't be too far away. We're turning that calendar every week. What are some things that you are on your practice plans in the next couple of weeks that you want to see your girls really be ready for when that first game pops up?
Well, we have some pretty tough scrimmages. Our first scrimmage is this Saturday, and we go down to Madison Jackson, and there's going to be 3 teams there in the state Final Four last year. So, one of those things we want to do is we want to see how we compete. We're not a fairly large team in terms of height, so we're really focusing a premium on rebounding. The biggest thing you want to do is you want to make sure you have everything in or have something in that's going to allow you to keep adding on through the year and give you a chance if some opponent throws you different things. So, we have some scrimmages at Madison Jackson, at Solon, at Norton, at Hudson. So we're really trying to do that. You want to make sure your man zone offense is in, some of the things you're going to do defensively. But we've been thrilled so far with just the competitiveness of our practices. Our JVs, our varsity are doing a great job, and they're making a lot of tough decisions for us.
All right, Coach, before we let you go, I want you to give me the biggest strength of your team that you think so far that you're going to have this season, and maybe the biggest weakness of your team so far.
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say probably our biggest strength is I think we have pretty good shooters. I really do. I think we have some elite shooters. I think we have some great shooters. I think we have some good shooters. Whether that holds true in the season, we'll find out. But I think that's probably our strength this year. Our biggest weakness, I think, right now is just understanding roles because we really haven't defined them. And we have so many new faces and new roles that we kind of have to let that play out. I think another issue we're going to have is just our size. There's just some things that you can't teach, and one of those is size. So if our tallest girl is 5'10", and you're going against a 6'2" girl, you got to do some different things, which causes some ripple effects in other areas. But I would say those 2 things are the biggest.
All right, Coach, give Canfield fans a shout out to your first home game and when they can come see the Cardinals play in the home gym.
Sure. We open up on November 22nd. That's a Tuesday night. We're hosting the Warriors from Beloit. So that is always a great way to start the season. And we know they're going to have a really good team. We're planning on having a really good team. So we're hoping it's a typical first game with West Branch where they bring their crowd, we bring our crowd, and it's a great atmosphere.
It's a great first game last year, if I do say so myself. So we'll see you then. We can't wait for the start of this season. Thank you so much for coming on and giving us a little preview. We look forward to the whole year, and we wish you the best of luck, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Thanks for having me.
You got it. Matt Reel, the head coach of the Canfield girls basketball team, coming on to join us today to talk a little bit about his preview of his season. And obviously they start their home opener is November 22nd at not at West Branch. What am I saying? November 22nd against West Branch at home in Canfield. 2 of the premium programs now, and both in Division II. going at it, and some of the two highly respected coaches as well, in Coach Real and Coach DeShields. That's always a fun matchup when those two get together. It was a fun matchup last year. It'll be a fun matchup this year too. So before we get to our first break, and Scotty Mitchell, who's waiting in the wings, I do want to go over the soccer tournament games that are happening tonight real quick, because we do have big matchups in the regionals tonight. We'll go through it, and we will start like we always do down in Division 3. It is United, and this is the 11th team in the state. United Eagles, they are 17-1-2. They will square off against the 6th-ranked team in the state in Ottawa Hills, who is 15-4-1. That game will be tonight at 7 o'clock at Perkins High School. That's all the way in Sandusky, a long trip for United, going all the way up to Sandusky, almost, I think that is over 2 hours, if I'm not mistaken. Probably, yeah, especially in Hanoverton. Probably an over 2 hour trip from Hanoverton to Sandusky. Might as well just go to Cedar Point while you're there. Celebrate a regional championship with a trip to Cedar Point. Why not? So United will play Ottawa Hills, which will be at 7 o'clock tonight at Sandusky Perkins High School. Once again, that's 11th ranked team in the state, United, going up against the 6th ranked team in the state, Ottawa Hills. Also in Division 3, we have Cardinal Mooney. They were able to beat Warren JFK 4-0 in the district championship. So they will have their game tonight at 6 o'clock at Boardman. They will host another soccer regional matchup. They hosted the girls last night. This time it'll be number 2 in the state, Mooney, who is 15-3-1 in the year, against number 14 in the state, which is Wycliffe, 16-4-0 on the year. Only one common opponent for these teams, and it was Crestview. Mooney defeated Crestview 4-0 in August, back in August 24th, actually. And Wycliffe just beat Crestview 2-1 to advance to this game in the district championship. So that'll be an interesting matchup between those two. In Division 2, it is a all YSN game in Streetsboro. This one will be at 6 o'clock. It is number 4 in the state, Howland, versus number 12 in the state, Poland. Howland is 16-1-2 on the year. Poland is 17-2-1 on the year. These two teams have played each other this year. Howland beat Poland 3-0 in August, back at really early August 16th, 3-0 in Warren. So a long time between those two games for both these teams to change a little bit. But that is the matchup we have in front of us, all YSN there. And then if United and Mooney both win tonight, then we will have an all YSN regional final, and we will be guaranteed somebody locking a ticket to state. That would be really exciting if we were able to get that. But those are the regional semifinals tonight. Division 3 boys soccer and Division 2 boys soccer. Once again, it is going to be Mooney against Wycliffe in Division 3. Also in Division 3, United takes on Toronto Ottawa Hills. And then in Division 2, we have Poland versus Howland. So good luck to all those teams. We're definitely guaranteed at least one team in the regional final. We hope we get a couple more before the night is over. We'll have recaps of those games tomorrow on Running Point as well. And you can follow our scoreboard on ysnlive.com/scores to get live scoring updates. And we'll also have game recaps and a story for those games on ysnlive.com tonight as well. So we'll have complete coverage of those soccer tournament games as we go on. We are so excited to continue those soccer tournaments and see if we can get as many teams in state as possible. We're going to take our first break on the day, and when we come back, we're going to have Scotty Mincher sitting in the studio to talk with us on Running Point. Welcome back, Scotty. It's been a while.
I support police funding, securing our borders, and parental rights in education. I'm attorney Mark Hanni, the only Republican running for the 7th District Court of Appeals. I will always follow the law.
Paid for by the committee to elect Mark Hanni judge. Dave Johnson, chairman.
Fall is in the air. The kids are back to school, crowds are cheering for the home team, and Myers Family Insurance is prepped for another crazy Medicare season. Every year there's changes, some big, some small, so it's important to have a conversation to make sure your plan is going to meet your expectations for the coming year. Give our team a call today to schedule your annual review.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance or visit us on the web. Check us out online at myersfamilyins.com.
Locally owned and operated, Sheely's relaxed shopping experience means browsing and lounging is always encouraged.
Find Flex Deal and more at Sheely's Furniture and Appliance, because the best things in life happen at home.
I'm Mark Hanai, a conservative Republican. I believe in family values, the Second Amendment, and our Constitution. Vote for the only Republican running for the 7th District Court of Appeals. Protect your rights. Vote Hanai for judge.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, we offer a worry-free experience for all our customers. From sales to financing and even service, we'll help build your perfect vehicle
and lock in your trade value
while your vehicle is being built.
No worries.
We guarantee financing,
regardless of your situation or credit history.
No worries. And when your vehicle needs service,
our award-winning team will get you back on the road.
No worries.
That's what going the extra mile means. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Change. This one word can make you break out in a cold sweat. But with change comes wisdom, experience, and understanding. At Myers Family Insurance, we can help make changes in Medicare, insurance, and retirement a positive experience for you and your family. We've gone through changes, like our new office and new faces to help our family of clients too.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance. Check us out online at myersfamilyins.com or find us on Facebook.
You're not waiting to see what the world has in store for you. It's more about what you have in store for the world. All you need is the opportunity. All you need are the resources of a large university and the advantages of a personalized academic setting where you can experience new worlds in the arts and sciences, business, and education and make them your own. We are where you shape your future. We are Youngstown State University and proud.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa.
And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing.
Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships.
We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team.
Your goals, our game plan.
Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Welcome back to a Wednesday episode of Running Point on ysnlive.com. As always, brought to you proudly by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. And in the athletic studio, you can see their full logo right there next to me. So in the athletic studio, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet. And in this athletic studio, it is the glorious return of Mr. Scotty Minter. Scotty, what is up, brother? It has been a minute.
Yeah, it has. It's been a hot minute. It feels so good to be back here. Me and you, it's like that song, Reunited, and it feels so good.
I was as soon as you said me and you, I was thinking that like the Monsters, Inc. Have you seen that movie?
I have.
You and me and you, the two of us together.
That works too. I feel like a pig in the mud again being back here.
All right, but don't get me. I like this is a nice shirt. I like it. I don't want to get muddy.
Okay.
All right. So
we'll keep you clean.
Keep me clean, but I'm happy you're back.
You're the high maintenance.
I am very high maintenance. I have a trailer in the back. And if you start treating me wrong, I'm just going to go to my trailer.
Okay.
I'm kidding. I do not have a trailer. No, don't send any emails. There's no trailer. I promise. Scotty.
Sure.
No, Scotty, we've seen each other a lot, though, because you've been helping out with Audible calls. So you are real up with what's going on in football right now and everything else. What do you want to talk about today? We always give you the free reign to bring us topics on Running Point. So what do you got for us today?
Well, it's funny. I was gonna actually go.
Ha funny or like awkward funny?
It's awkward funny.
Oh no.
I was actually gonna go in a bit of a different direction, change things up today. But since you brought
circle change?
Yeah, circle change. Since you brought up football, though, I want to know through this first round of postseason action, Anthony, and we're almost at round number 2 here. I want to know from you, just your perspective. Is there anything that has surprised you, like taking, or like even just your biggest surprise? I'm sure something has surprised you, but your biggest surprise, and then is there anything that going into this second round with these matchups we have coming up, I just want to know, is there anything you think by a team or a player, is there somebody that could, just throw a wrench and change the entire look of these playoffs? What are your thoughts?
So I'm going to go with the first question first on what the biggest surprise was for me. The score that was the biggest surprise for me, not because of the final result, but because of what the score ended up being, was Struthers Edgewood. 49-14. The Wildcats just ran all over Edgewood. This was an 8-9 matchup. It was supposed to be pretty competitive. Edgewood was coming off that big win over Lakeside against a rivalry. They won the Battle of the Bridge. They were feeling really good about themselves. And they beat Lakeside, who, Lakeside got beat up, but they're still a playoff team in Division I. So that's still something to be heard about. So Edgewood was a good team coming into this game. Really a solid opponent, and Struthers made them look like they were a JV team. Just kind of took them to the woodshed, 49-14. Really impressed with the Wildcats right now. I think they are the hottest team in the YSN family right now, as far as how they've been playing from week 4 to now. And we'll see how that goes, because they obviously have a really big task in front of them now. How hot is too hot, right, for West Branch? But I was still really impressed with the way the Struthers showed up, took care of business, and just washed their hands clean of that 9-8 matchup and locked up their matchup with West Branch. Now after all that, I forget what the second part of your question was.
The second part was, do you see any player or any team that could, by winning this week, it could create like a domino effect, like, just throw a wrench into these?
By that, do you mean like, do I think there's a team out there that can like sneak up on people and win when they're not expected to?
I mean, everybody's good when you get to this point. So you could say anyone has a shot.
We're at the top 32. We're at the top 32. 8 teams in each region left.
Yeah.
So this is like, if you're a basketball fan, this is like round 2 of your March Madness bracket. Then we get in the Sweet 16, then Elite 8, then obviously.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying. Is there anyone out there you think could like bust the bracket, or a player that maybe didn't get talked about as much in the regular season that you really think could be?
It won't be this week, because I think this week they're still favored in their matchup. But I think eventually down the line, a team that can make some moves in the region that a lot of people are kind of looking over, because there's so many other really good teams in that region themselves. I think Beaver Local is just on like an unbelievable tear right now. They've had 6 games that are above 50 points on offense. And they have this knack of just scoring a lot in the fourth quarter too. They were down at halftime, 23-21. I almost called you Richie because I'm so used to Richie being on Wednesdays. They were down 23-21 at halftime, Scotty, and they won 56-35. They just never stop, and it's almost like they get better when the second half clock starts. I mean, the Week 10 game, they were down by 14 in the fourth quarter, and they still won by 14. I think they had 28 unanswered points with 7 minutes in the fourth quarter. They pulled like a Josh Allen Bills and said, "I'm just going to score, 21 points in 2 minutes."
So they could have. You're saying they have the clutch.
They have the clutchness, and right now, I mean, they've gone up against good teams. That Wheeling Central team, no one's been able to really stop them. Their offense just looks like it's almost unstoppable. Although those teams kind of scare me because it's like, what do you do when that offense is eventually slowed down? Eventually, you're going to hit a good defense that can stop you. That's just the nature of football. So that kind of scares me. But if they play like they have been in the last, I would say last 8 weeks, ever since that Week 2 loss to Salem, they've hit a switch. If they keep playing offense like they have been, I mean, with Austin Klein and Caleb White in the backfield, good luck stopping them.
Yeah, it'll be. I mean, I don't really know much about Canton South, but I mean,
look,
the way Beaver Local has just, especially like you said, doing it in the second half. I guess the only thing you worry about is if they would start slow again. You think in the playoffs eventually you're going to get burned.
They're like one of those teams that just like they like being. I'm convinced they like being behind, or even not even behind. They just like slow starts, maybe because like the last 2 weeks it's been like lethargic a little bit in the first half, and then all of a sudden, just massive explosions. The last 2 weeks because they were down at halftime to Coventry, and then of course they were down by 14 in the fourth quarter to Wheeling in Week 10. So last 2 weeks they've had comeback victories and they've had huge second half performances. So we'll see if that continues. Canton South, a very good defense in their own right. They held Salem to their second lowest point total of the season with 21 points given up last week to Salem. The only team that held them lower than that was Crestview back in Week 1, and you could argue that some Week 1 scores can be thrown out the window. Because you look at Salem the rest of the year, and their offense was scoring at a high rate. So Canton South holding them at their peak to 21, pretty impressive. So Canton South, a good defense and a good test for Beaver Local, but the way their offense is going right now, I don't know if Canton South has enough to stop it.
Yeah, you would think if they're gonna have a chance against Beaver Local.
Well, they got to play defense. I mean, they're not going to score with Beaver Local if they don't stop them. They don't have that kind of offensive firepower. They're a running team. They like to play slow offense. So if they get into a shootout, they're in trouble. They're in real quick trouble.
It's almost like, I mean, sometimes I think we could simplify sports too much, but you almost look at this on the surface.
Well, yeah,
anyway, and it seems like if Canton South is going to win, they have to control the ball and maybe win the turnover battle.
You can dive into football all you want and dive into the X's and O's and the schemes and play calling and everything. But at the end of the day, 9 times out of 10, it comes down to controlling the line of scrimmage and not turning the ball over. Like that's what you have to do to win. How you can, I know there's different ways to control the line of scrimmage and schemes you have to do and defenses you have to go up against. I know it's not that simple, but at the end of the day, it just comes down to most of the time control the line of scrimmage and win the turnover battle. Very rarely do you see a team do both those things and lose.
It's and like we talked about at this point, everybody's good.
Everybody's good. We're in the top 32 teams in each region. Everyone deserves to be here. Everyone has one playoff win under their belt. I think you'll see a little bit less blowouts this week. Obviously, in Week 1, you saw a lot of them, but you also saw a lot of games that people probably thought would be blowouts that turned up not being blowouts. I think this Beaver Local game was one of them. I mean, it was probably thought to be, Beaver Local was on a roll, but here they are down at halftime to this Coventry team. There were some other scores out there that I thought people might have thought would have been blowouts, but were actually like back and forth matches. Even this Fitch game, 56-34, Mayfield put up a pretty good fight and was scoring with Fitch until Fitch ran away with it. The game was much closer than that score indicates. So there were some games out there, some double-digit seeds that really took care of business and showed that they belong there too. So I think the days of 8 teams playoffs are absolutely done. You might, I mean, if the purists might want to go back to 12, but I think there were too many 12, 11, 10 seeds that proved they deserve to be in those matchups to say we have to go back to 8, in my opinion.
One game that was not close.
No.
One team that won going away was my alma mater, the Lowville Rockets.
Always got to talk about Lowville with Scotty.
Yeah, I mean, if any year, we're going to discuss Lowville,
It better be this year.
I remember that. I remember 20 years ago, the team that won the ITCL in 2002 and went undefeated.
It was probably even back then. It was probably still the ICL.
Yeah,
I don't know if they even switched yet.
ICL.
I can't remember when they switched.
Yeah,
I mean, because I don't even remember which one. Lowville, they were probably in the TCL, right? They're in Trumbull. Are they in Trumbull County? Or no, they're in Mahoning. They'd be in the ICL, right?
Yeah, they're in Mahoning.
All right, so they'd be in the ICL, but yeah, but that's way back in the day. Maybe like it was somewhere late 90s, early 2000s. I think was when they moved from the ICL, TCL to the ITCL. And I remember joking to my brothers, I'd be like, man, they should have made the TICL because then we could have played the Tickle.
The Tickle.
The Tickle Bowl. Okay. Back to Lowville this year. There's an MVAC. Like you said, not close, 54-14 over that Steubenville Central team. What were you gonna say about Lowville? Because like they're just on a different level right now.
Yeah, they are. And I just wanted to know from you, because I mean, we talked about this is clearly the most talented team that Lowville has had in quite some time.
Quite some time. Maybe ever.
Yeah. Benny Ballone, tying the state record this year for touchdown
and
passes.
There are probably some games where he could have broke it if they wanted him to.
Yeah. Sebring is probably one.
I mean, most of their schedule, like he was sitting at halftime. Yeah. Even this one. I think they put in the backup in the second half of this game.
But like honestly, Anthony, you look at Lowville, and again, not taking anything away, it's been a sensational year.
But Scotty's about to swerve the Rockets.
The playoffs, it's always it's a new season. Like we said, everyone's good.
All right.
And you talked about this Lucas team.
Yeah, we talked about this game before off the air. Like Lucas is a team that knows how to win in the playoffs. They've been in the playoffs before. They've beaten some of our YSN teams out of the playoffs. They beat McDonald out of the playoffs. McDonald was pretty good. This is a Lucas team that has a successful tradition. So no matter the seeds, I was telling you, like I'm always a little bit weary of those teams that have tradition-rich programs that know how to win in the playoffs.
And that being said, you said you think Lowville should still.
Lowville's the better team.
They're the better team. They should win this.
There's
game.
That.
But
sometimes that it factor comes out where maybe Lowville makes a mistake because they're tight because it's a playoff game. Lucas probably won't make those silly tight because we're nervous mistakes.
And I watched, as you know, we worked together over 2 months on while I was gone here.
I spent time stealing your gummies.
Yeah, during audible call. Yeah, I know I just stated the obvious there. But I just wanted to know, I saw Lowville a little bit, and from what I saw, obviously, very, very dangerous, very potent offensively. But what are you, because you watch more games than every week, you've watched more games than I have. You dove deep into the Lowville program. So what do you really think their ceiling is?
I think their ceiling goes as high as Vinny Malone can take them, to be honest. What I'm really impressed with Louisville this year, which is a little bit different than years past, is not a lot of people are talking about their defense. Their defense in the two games that they really needed their defense to step up and play well, they did. Springfield and Middle Ridge. Springfield was a close game for most of that game, and they needed their defense to make a couple of key stops, and they did. And then you look at that Middle Ridge game. Middle Ridge's defense did the best anybody else has done against Louisville. They held the Rockets to just 21 points. But the Rockets' defense was locked down. 7 points given up to that Rams team that can be tough to handle with Ian Erb and Tristan Valley down there in Middle Ridge. So their defense is putting in work, and because of what the offensive numbers are this year, it kind of gets overshadowed. But don't sleep on Louisville's defense and their ability to just make a lot of stops and hold teams down. 14 points to Steubenville Central in the first round of the playoffs. You know, if Lucas can't score, it doesn't matter how good their defense is at stopping Vinny Malone.
So you kind of feel that Louisville's defense,
that's the X factor, in my opinion, because they have all the same offensive threats they had last year. And they were putting on a show last year, but they got into too many shootouts last year too. And I think that hurt them down the stretch. This year, they're not getting into as many shootouts. They're blowing teams out of the water. They're stopping people. They're making good defensive plays against good offensive teams. And I think that defense is the difference maker.
Very, very interesting.
I'm old school. Man. Defense wins championships at the end of the day. Eventually, that offense is going to find someone that can slow it down. You know, Middle Ridge already did this year. There's going to be someone that maybe, you know, breaks the line of scrimmage and puts a lot of pressure on Vinny or someone like that. There's going to be someone that slows them down eventually. And your defense is going to have to step up in those games. And in the two games that Louisville needed them, their defense stepped up.
Do you think it's like feasible though in the postseason? Not that they can't play good, but do you think it's feasible they can play as good in the postseason as they did against teams like Mineral? Obviously, because it's not going to get easier from here.
Yeah, I have faith in the Rockets' defense to make stops. I mean, you look at that region and the offenses that they'll play, you know, up until maybe, you know, you see Warren JFK, not going to be offenses that blow you out of the water when on tape. So I think the defense can run through this playoffs and play well. And if their defense plays well, you can win for Louisville, because you don't have to be perfect on defense with Louisville, right? You just have to hold the fort a little bit. Like that offense is going to score. Like, you're not going to shut out Vinny Malone. And when your lowest point total is 21, that tells your defense you don't have to be perfect. Just hold the other team under 21 and we'll be good.
Well, it's like, I mean, I know it's a totally different level, but like when the Chiefs won their most recent Super Bowl, they didn't have the best defense in the league.
No.
But it was good enough, and because Pat Mahomes is of alien form.
Yeah, and if you watch that Super Bowl, that defense, they gave up yards. They were like middle of the pack with yards given up. But by word, when they needed plays made, they had playmakers. And Louisville's the same way. They have playmakers to go make plays when they need plays. You know, they have your pass rush. They have the linebackers in the secondary that can go make plays. If you give up a lot of yards and you still make a play and stop them from scoring a touchdown, then you're good. And a lot of teams are going to get aggressive against you because of the offense you have. They're not going to settle for field goals. They're probably going to go for it on fourth down, even inside the 20 against Louisville. So just go make a stop. Go make one play.
We just have a couple minutes left.
We do. It's winding down.
Is there anything? I know I always kind of bring topics to you, but since I've been gone, is there anything sports-wise that's been on your mind that maybe you wanted to discuss with me?
On my mind?
Yeah. Just out of curiosity.
No, I mean, you brought up before the game. Is there anything about the Browns being 4-0 against Joe Burrow? Now I'm sitting here jealous because Mahomes is 0-2 against him. I'm like, what the heck? You know? What the heck are the Chiefs doing wrong?
That's right, because I forgot they beat them at the
They
end
beat him
of
in the
the
regular season, and they
last
beat him
year.
in the playoffs, and they beat him in the same way both times. I'm sitting here watching the Browns just kick their butt, thinking, "What did we do wrong?" You know.
And you know
that's such a shame.
You know the crazy thing about it too is Baker Mayfield is 2-0 against Joe Burrow.
He is
in his career.
probably the only quarterback he's 2-0 against.
Man, did he
imploded.
I think it's safe to say not that I definitely built him up to more than he was, Anthony, but I still think I kind of put a hex on him because he wasn't this bad. And then
But let's be honest, he went to a really bad situation. Like you went to Carolina. There's not much you can do there.
True.
I mean, your head coach gets fired already because the locker room is just in shambles. So it's not like I didn't expect much out of Baker this year. I mean, I was rooting for him because of the way that he went out in Cleveland. I thought that was kind of really crappy because, you have one of your best franchise quarterbacks in years and you ditch him for a guy that you know is going to play this year.
But to play
and I was like, well, that sucks. And to be honest, I've never rooted against the Browns harder than I did in that Carolina game, just because I wanted to see them get their comeuppance for that decision.
Well, if we didn't have a miracle field goal,
I know.
You
How's he working out the rest of the year? I haven't really liked this. Is he kind of still as good, or is he a one-trick pony?
He's been hit and miss. It seems like more miss lately.
Rookie,
which is
he's proven he can do. I don't
they've
know
gotten
how.
several kicks blocked, but he made another 55-yarder, and it looked like it would have been good from 65.
I would say patience, but patience has never been a thing that Browns are good at.
No,
so.
Jimmy Haslam. I don't think patience is in his. I don't know if he's ever said the word patience.
You could spell it out. He'd be like, "What's that?"
Yeah,
it hurts me to say.
And I love the Browns. I'll always love the Browns, but let's face it, Jimmy Haslam has been a terrible owner.
Keep trucking through,
man. He got
in
trouble with the feds. It's just like
keep trucking through, man. Every franchise is gonna eventually find their way into the sun. That's how the NFL is built. The Chiefs weren't always a good team. Like let's be honest. There were years where I was like, this is brutal. Especially when Todd Haley was our head coach. So
that's right. Didn't they have a couple of 3-13, 4-12?
Yeah, it was not fun. Then we fired Haley, brought in Andy Reid, turned things around a little bit.
Yeah.
Turn things around a little bit.
I wonder, I know the Eagles are undefeated now, but it still makes me wonder because over the years they've been.
Can we get an Eagles-Chiefs Super Bowl for the Andy Reid? Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be. I got to tell you, Jalen Hurts has played better than I expected.
He's Donovan McNabb reincarnated.
Yeah.
He does a lot of things that Donovan did. Like you watch tape. He does a lot of the same things that Donovan McNabb did in his prime. I'm impressed.
Also, kudos, shout out to AJ Brown because he got me 40 points in fantasy. My record in fantasy is now, I believe, 7-1.
Whew, Scotty's a ringer in fantasy. All right, Scotty, our time is winding down, and thank you so much for popping on.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Anthony. Thanks for having me back and not kicking me to the curb like
I would never.
redheaded stepchild.
I would never, unless you came in a Georgia Bulldog shirt, then I might kick you to the curb. Thank you for coming. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back on Running Point tomorrow from 1 to 2. We'll see you then.